In Roxbury's Dudley Square, the built environment is going through dramatic changes. The changes have been cause for concerns and encouragement. Community leaders have been trying to make sure the people in surrounding neighborhoods share the benefits and continue to feel they have a place in the square. In this time of transition, one way to build and reinforce the connection is through a series of public arts projects. These have been organized by the Mayor's Office of Arts and Tourism and the Boston Art Commission. We'd like to welcome as our guest from the Commission, the director, Karin Goodfellow. Thank you very much for being with us, Karin. First of all, talk about the collaboration here. This is not just a couple of city agencies we're talking about.
Right. I mean, we did have a lot of collaboration within the city. We're dealing with a lot of different sort of property owners. So we're partnering with the Parks Department, with with different people within the city, which is always fantastic to do. But we're also partnering with Discover Roxbury and with Dudley Square Main Street. So working with them as well as property owners.
So why is public art important to them? What are they looking for?
So this actually came out of conversations we were having sort of about the area. We're doing a number of permanent pieces in the new building, the new Dudley Square Municipal Center building, and we had conversations with the board of the Art Commission about how interested we are now in doing more temporary pieces, and then I ended up having great conversations with, for example, Derek Lumpkins from Discover Roxbury about what might be interesting in terms of sort of more temporary projects going on there, and then also with Joyce Stanley from Dudley Square Main Streets about what she might think would be working. And so working with them, we put together a call and put it out to local artists to see how they might respond to that sort of interest coming from both the Art Commission and community partners.
We'll talk about some of the things, because these have actually started.
Yeah, we got started last week, and we have projects happening through the end of August and also September. We have 8 different projects happening with a number of different artists. So they're ranging from projects that are more traditional, like paintings, to performance pieces. So that we have an artist who will be doing sort of a project, sort of building a costume using cards from a library in the BPL in Dudley. So she's going to be building that piece in the library, and they're doing a performance on the 23rd of August, which is pretty exciting. And then we've had another artist doing pieces in a public park there, and really talking to people about all the changes happening in Dudley Square and what that means to them, and then also having sort of painting instructions and teaching with them, and then looking to display the art that comes from there.
I know one of the visuals here is a portrait of Malcolm X. We've seen Malcolm X in the Mural, or saw him in Spike Lee's movie, but this is different.
Yep, so that's a piece by Alejandro Pinto, is the artist who's doing that one, and so he was very interested in working on that one and really connecting to the history in the neighborhood and Malcolm X's connection to Dudley Square, but also exploring the use of UV lights. So he's sort of experimenting in his own work and using a special kind of paint that should be sort of glow in the night when you put a certain light on it. And so it's both an experiment and sort of a nod to history.
I guess one thing you do is you get people to come out just to look at these things, right?
Yeah. And I think that was really interesting, and that sort of came out of the conversation with Joyce Stanley at Dudley Square Main Street, is how do we use these projects to sort of activate the space and sort of also bring attention to the businesses over there as well.
I know one of these is going to be a little piece of green space across from the police station, and a lot of the time you go by there, that's sort of nondescript. I guess the art makes it come to life more.
Yeah. We have an installation happening soon, and it's going to be up for the month. So we have some artists working with students out of Mass Art, out of their Artward Bound project, and actually having an installation there, temporary, but during the month it will be up there, and people will be able to engage with that.
What about the experience for artists? Because if they take on an assignment, they're thinking of a particular place, a particular audience. How important is that?
I think it's really important, and especially with something like this that is so site-specific. It allows artists to do that work, and also because a lot of them will sort of be done live and be interactive, it allows artists to respond in the moment as well to whomever they meet and really have a dialogue.
Give me an example of some of the interactive projects we're talking about.
So there was Darrell Ann's piece that I just talked about, where she'd be painting and talking specifically about change, loss, and gain in Dudley. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of change happening there, so that's one great example. And we also have an artist named Brianna Shaban, who's going to be talking about issues around depression. So those are very different. and really talking about personal issues with that, and using text and conversation to explore those.
And where is that going to be situated?
That's going to be on sort of the fence right in front of Haley House.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. This is a cafe. People, they find company. They have some nice food, and yet there is this at the same time.
Well, the property it's going on is D&D at City, but this will, and she did go in and talk to them and make sure everything's, you know, okay with that. But you know, it's happening in the community, and that is a great center in the neighborhood. I
guess another thing that goes on here is that this is so different from having a commercial and community center where everything looks interchangeable. You've got the same chain stores, the same buildings. This gives it entirely different flavor. Why is that so important?
Well, I think with artists, you know, they really reflect the moment of any community, and you know, we're really thinking about at the Art Commission about where Boston is now and how are we expressing that through our public art. How do we express our values? How do we express the questions that we're having? And temporary art is a great way to do that. So we're really excited about this project for that reason. I think we think of public art and we think oftentimes of statuary, of sort of heroic poses in bronze, and we're looking to experiment with that both in our permanent pieces and with our temporary pieces.
What about the permanent pieces? Any ideas so far about where that's going, what we can look for in the future?
Yeah, so in the next few months we're going to be having a few permanent pieces installed in the new building as well. We're having one piece in the school committee room, actually done by a BPS student, a senior. We had a competition just for BPS students in that, so that will be a really beautiful piece installed inside, but in a public space. We're having a beautiful enamel on copper mural by artist Napoleon Henderson, entitled Roxbury Rhapsody, which will be right as soon as you enter the building out of the bus stop area there. And then in front of that, we're having a beautiful sculpture called Crisscross Signal Spire by artist Mijin Yoon, which is going to be 40 foot tall, really beautiful abstract piece with LED lights signaling sort of civic interaction happening in the city.
And if I recall, I saw some version of this with the lights were different colors. These are not just like street lights.
No, it's going to be really beautiful and really showing sort of the innovative side of Boston and technology that we use here and we're known for.
Of course, the other thing is this sends out a message about what that building, the municipal center, is supposed to be like. So what is that you're trying to emphasize?
Well, I mean, I think it's a lot of things, and I think that's what we were trying to show, in that we have a piece by these three very different artists that are permanently installed there. So, you know, from a student who we partnered with, local artist James Hoban, to develop a really beautiful, you know, piece that will be printed upon fabric on an acoustic panel, to enamel on copper, which is, you know, a very, very old and very important craft, to this new, more sort of contemporary piece, and that will show all the different parts that make our city so wonderful.
Well, of course, the other thing you're trying to do with the square is encourage some economic growth, and I guess the art can help in some way, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think art draws people to neighborhoods, and art expresses who the neighborhoods are, you know, already. So it's sort of an ongoing thing. I think they're very good for representing our values. This is how we understand different cultures. We look at their art. So thinking about our own art, how are we doing that? So getting that out there, but also just show that it's a place that people want to be. I think people are drawn to the arts, and especially public art.
Because one of the other things that you're building on as far as foundation, I know you mentioned the groups at the beginning of our segment, but there's an art culture out there. This is not just like somebody put out an RFP and they got some replies. This has been going on for a while in the community.
Right, yeah, and there's great demand for it, and I think there's great demand to do more temporary pieces if possible. I think the arts community wants these opportunities, and we're happy to try to be getting more of them out there.
Right, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
From the Boston Art Commission, Karin Goodfellow.